welcome to the Skywatch Inn Hotel Investment. Today we're going to learn how you can make 55% return in 2 years with a fixed exit and no stress. Seems to be one of our mottos at the moment, a fixed exit and no stress. A passive investment, just one of our passive investment products. I'm Simon Carlton, that's me. What we do is we, as well as having our own investment products, we advise clients on property investment, how to build portfolios. We have other webinars talking about building portfolios, about our other passive investment products, and just giving people advice on the best way to build their portfolios, reduce their portfolios, and to get to that goal of passive income. I'm also a landlord, a professional landlord. Myself and my partners own over 100 properties in the UK, the US and Brazil. Just wanted to give you an idea of that, just so you can understand that we are not just talking about it, we are fully involved in everything that we do and that our clients do, and thus the reason why we have the experience and the knowledge to help people build portfolios. So a quick itinerary of the webinar. First of all, we'll be talking about the North Dakota oil boom, why we're there, the Skywatch Inn, Phase 1, the teams involved, the offer, the investment structure and the security, the structure and the flow of what happens to your money when it's invested, and we'll talk about the secure exit, followed by Q&As, and then we'll talk about what you do next. So first of all, the North Dakota oil boom. First of all, if anyone doesn't know, the reason why oil booms aren't quite as much of a boom as they used to be, and the reason why I'm saying that is because booms are generally followed by a bust, and the reason why booms were followed by a bust when it came to oil in the past was because of the technology. The difference in the technology is very simple. Well, in layman terms, very simple. In my kind of terms, very simple. Before, they would just drill vertically, and their fracking wasn't quite so good. Now they can drill horizontally, and they have the new fracking technology. It does mean that an oil company can spend a lot less. I mean, each of these wells costs about 10 mil to put in place, and if you can drill down and across, then you save yourself an awful lot of money. Meaning more money can be spent, and more of the technology can be used to make sure that money's being spent properly, which means that the oil companies are more willing to put time and effort into an area rather than it getting to the bust period where they give up because they've drilled vertically enough times and can't find any oil. This has meant that oil production has been up well over 500% since 2007. From my understanding, it's up at 700 to 800% now. We're looking to about 30 to 50 years of steady boom, sort of steady growth. Now, of course, that will come in peaks and troughs, but along with these kind of oil booms comes a great need for infrastructure. When you look at an oil boom, you're not just looking at oil workers, you're not just looking at the industry of oil, you're looking at everything else that comes with people migrating to an area and the infrastructure that's required, i.e. New restaurants, hotels, accommodation, every single service you can think of that comes with population growth in a certain area. And the Bakken oil fields, which is what the oil fields in the North Dakota are called, is one of the biggest oil reserves you'll see in the US. North Dakota is now, I think, second out of the states for oil production, just behind Texas, and it's growing fast. North Dakota is situated on the northern border of the US, next to Montana, above South Dakota, and Minnesota on the right-hand side. Here's a map of North Dakota. As you can see, you've got Canada to the top, you've got Montana here at the side, and this little square or rectangle here is North Dakota. Now there are two main arteries to North Dakota. That is I-94 and Highway 2, which you can just see here. The shaded bit here is the actual shale underneath the ground, and you've got the Bakken, and then you've got three other parts of the formation underneath. You can see it goes over into Canada, into Montana, and down into South Dakota. But currently the easiest and the most production is happening in the area of Williston, Watford, all the way over to just before Minot. All this area along Highway 2 is one of the biggest production fields. And if you don't go onto Google Maps and take a look, if you pan in close enough, you'll see little yellow or beige sandy coloured rectangles, and these are your oil fields. As I said, Williston is the heart of the Bakken oil field. It's the centre. Highway 2, main artery between Williston and Minot. Along Highway 2 you've got Ray, Tioga, Stanley. All of these areas are seeing great growth, and that's because they're slap bang in the middle of it all. So why are we there? Okay, so we were originally invited there by local residents. And the reason why we were invited there is because of some of the bigger companies coming in from different countries and even the US itself, and taking advantage of the local people and taking advantage of the landowners. And you found a lot of landowners, they sold land and then found that those developers developed either didn't develop at all and just put like trailer park sites, RVs on their land, or they developed like man camp style hotels. Now, if you look on Google and type in man camp, you're going to see a lot about North Dakota because that's where a lot of man camps are. And essentially, you've got huts, hangars, storage units, anything they can get their hands on that's been developed into hotel rooms. And these are very, very basic, and these are aimed at the oil workers. And if you're an oil worker, then you know it's fine. You live in one of these places, you go home to your families at the weekend or every other weekend, it doesn't matter. But for everybody else that's coming to the area, these kind of man camps are not a good place to stay. You know, the construction workers, the white collar workers, the blue collar workers, and the management, pretty much anybody. If you're bringing your family to the area to look at maybe moving to the area, you're not going to want to have them stay in man camps. We because we've been brought into the area, we essentially got brought in by a friend of our company who owns a lot of land, over 1,000 acres there, slap bang on Highway 2. He invited us there because he knew the work that we were doing in Minnesota, because where our other office is in Minnesota. Our office where I sit is in the UK, and then our other office is in Minnesota, which is run by Ryan, my partner. Now, with his land and with his neighbour's land, we've got over $1.1 billion worth of exclusive projects. We've got anything from hotels, rail spurs, warehousing, retail, residential, anything that comes with a small city being built, that's what we're building. There's a small city there, and we're involved in every aspect. The city is going to be on Highway 2. It's slap bang on Highway 2, and the reason for this, and if you look at one of the latest articles on our website, you'll see that this is what they're trying to do in the area. They're trying to build kind of suburb communities outside of Williston and bring people's families to it. So rather than just transient workers, we've got a permanent increase in the residents in the area, and that's what we're looking for. And that's what we're looking for as a whole. That's what ourselves, our partners, the landowners, the developers we're working with, and of course the local government councils, planning departments, and we're working very closely with them on everything we do to look to bring a community and look at more permanent space and bring in longevity to an investment, and that's what we're doing. The first phase of this is the sky watching. It's very simple. One of the main issues you have when you're developing anything in the area is actually housing your construction staff. So it sits well that our first phase is going to be a hotel, because obviously then every single phase that we work on after that will contract to the hotel for the rooms. Obviously every phase is done differently, completed differently, has slightly different teams, but the overall structure will be similar to all our other projects. And each of those projects and each of those phases will be ran separately to the others, meaning that they will pay Skywatch in for the rooms like anybody else would. So let's talk about the Skywatch Inn. First of all, before we even go into the Skywatch Inn, here's a CGI of how the Skywatch Inn will look, to give you an idea of what normal hotels in the area are like. And I'll first talk about most of the hotels. Most of the hotels in the area are more like motels. They don't have great facilities. You're talking no restaurant, no bar, no facilities, just rooms. No room service, no laundry. So you've got those. Now they're at the cheaper end of the scale, but they're still 100% occupied in the summer, and their occupancy drops so that it's not occupied in the weekends, but through the week in the winter the occupancy is very high too. Then you've got the rack rate comparables, and these are the comparables to our hotel. These are hotels that are nearly as good as our hotel, and the reason why they're nearly as good, and I'll explain in a minute. But those hotels, most of them don't have restaurants and bars. None of those hotels have the underground parking amenities. And those hotels is where we've got the average room rate of $180 a night from the reporting on those, and also how we've come to our occupancy levels at 80%. So these are inferior hotels in the area that we're working on averages through those hotels. Now, as other hotels are being built in the area, some people will say, but other hotels are being built, so your occupancy levels will be going down. And again, I implore you to look on places, things like the Williston Wire and news articles, and you'll see quite clearly that the RV parks are being shut down, the man camps are being closed down. All of these things are happening and closing down these man camps and these RV camps, and these people that are staying in those places, and that is not just the oil workers but the construction workers that have to stay in those places, and these tents where there's a major crisis for homelessness. Those people are going to have to go somewhere. Now, the permanent housing and the apartment housing, it just can't keep up. It can't keep up with the influx of people. So as other hotels are being built, and as our hotel gets built, where there's an increase in supply, there is also an increase in demand because of the decrease in the lower end supply. Our hotel, what makes our hotel better and different to any other hotel in the area, is one, it sits right on Highway 2. It's one of the only hotels for hundreds of miles along Highway 2 that sits slap bang on Highway 2. It's on a crossroads, you can't miss it. It's a 100-room hotel with, as I said, we're working on $180 per night, 80% occupancy. It's a fully serviced hotel, and what I mean by that is it has a restaurant and a bar. It has underground parking. It's the only hotel, from my understanding, it's the only hotel in North Dakota, and we're told this by our own reports, also by a number of appraisers we've dealt with regarding their reports. And the underground parking, we're the sole company in the whole of North Dakota that has this. Why is that important? Because I don't know if you know about North Dakota, but if you do, you'll know that in the winter it is a harsh winter. Last time I was in North Dakota, it was minus 29 degrees Fahrenheit. If you do that calculation into Celsius, you'll understand that is a very cold winter. Parking vehicles outside is a slight issue. If we've got underground parking and these people are able to park their vehicles, and some of these vehicles have tools on them because they're construction workers, some of these are owned by white collars and they have obviously office equipment in their cars. Underground heated parking is important. meaning that occupancy levels should be even higher in the winter. As well as that, in the summer, it is very humid, very hot. The last thing you want is to get into a car that's been sat outside in North Dakota all day. So our hotel having underground parking gives us a unique advantage over everybody else in North Dakota. We also have room service. I've not been to a hotel in North Dakota that has room service. Not yet, none. Our hotel has room service. It also has a laundry service. Our hotel will be second to none in the area without the additional cost that normally comes with a second to none hotel. So who's building it? Where are we? What are we doing? Right. So at this precise moment in time, we have raised very nearly all the money. We're a few million off of raising all the money, so we're right near the end. We have full planning. All utilities are in. The crossroads, traffic lights have all been put in, and the road has been relayed. We are finalizing the hard bid, ready to break ground. Now currently it's April. We will be breaking ground within the next 6 weeks, and we will be completed by the end of the year. To go through the teams that are involved, Reichard Developments are the project management. They are managing the whole project. Everybody that's involved in here will be overlooked by Reichard Developments. Carlton James Skywatch Limited. This is the company that the investor invests into, and this is the company that manages the investment and the money for the project. So working hand in hand with Reichard Developments, Carlton James Skywatch Limited will make sure the money is spent correctly. J.E. Dunn, one of the biggest construction companies in the US and the world, is to be the general contractor, along with their partners, Yao Construction. The Vice President of Mandalay Bay will be the hotelier. So the Vice President of Mandalay Bay will be running the hotel. Obviously Reichard, that's not our forte, running a hotel. So we will own the hotel, and the Vice President of Mandalay Bay will hotel manage the hotel. And then we brought in Glenmuir International. They have no involvement in the project whatsoever. They are here literally for you as investors. They are the investment administrators. We have hired them, been agreed by them, and they are administering all monies in and out of the project, making sure that we stick to the rules that we have put on ourselves on behalf of you, the client. So let's talk about the offer. First of all, we require 13 million. We've got a vast majority of that by now, so we're only a few million off, but that's the total requirement we need. The final value, now we based this on 8% cap rate initially, which is pretty standard for the US, meaning that we'd have a value of 50 mil. We've done some additional research and wanted to work on a higher cap rate because it's North Dakota and because it's a boom town. Now 33 million is what we've come in as a final value. Again, we don't even need it to be 33 million. If that comes in at 22, 23, 24, 25, we are still able to exit the investors at the end of the 2 years. The offer for you individually, the minimum investment is $50,000. This goes up in increments of 10,000 from there. So you can invest 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 ongoing. Now, 100. If we work on $100,000, if you invest $100,000, your year one returns. You invest today, which, as I said, we're in April. You invest today in April. April next year, you'll receive $15,000 of your 100 grand, of your 100,000, minus $1,000 that the administrator charges you to protect your needs. In other words, the net return for you after year 1 is $14,000, which is 14%. Year 2, if you'd invest $100,000, you'd receive $14,000 at the end of year 2. But it doesn't stop there, because at the end of year 2, that's the end of the investment. So April 2016, you will receive your $14,000 you're due for that year. You'll also receive your $100,000 back in full, as well as a 25% bonus. So you will receive $14,000 in year 1 if you invest $100,000, $14,000 at the end of year 2. You'll also receive your $100,000 back plus an extra $25,000. This gives a total return of gross 55%, net 53%. So that's a return of 53% over 2 years, which I'm sure you'll agree, very, very good. Very good. And the reason why we've done this, and people ask us about the bonus, the reason why we've done it with the bonus is twofold. The first thing is we wanted to compete with you buying a property, because if you just get a return, then you cannot calculate the kind of capital gain that you can get from buying a property with the same money. So by doing it this way, you get your return that's much better than you're going to get on a property. Not only that, you get a capital growth, but it's in the form of an income of 25%. So effectively it becomes a competition for you buying an individual property. The other plus point for this, rather than buying into buy-to-lets, student-lets, or wherever you want to buy into, is that with this investment you have nothing to worry about. You have no work to deal with, no management to do, no paperwork to sign, no solicitors, attorneys, nobody to deal with. You only have to worry about when it is you're due your return and where you want that to go to. And that is why it's called passive income, because you can literally sit at home at your armchair and wait for that money to come in. It's good, right? So now let's talk about the investment structure and the security. This is generally one of the main points people have, because at this point you may say to yourself, well, it's too good to be true. And let me explain to you why it's true and why we're able to give you that return. You can do the calculations yourself. We've worked out an NOI, which is a net operating income, of around about $4 million a year. And the way the structure is to secure you as the investor is very simple. Your money is secured against the assets of Carlton James Skywatching Limited. We are the management company for the investment into the hotel. Every asset that we own secures you against your shares. You're buying shares in our company. These shares come with a fixed return, fixed term, and fixed exit. So they're preference shares. Carlton James Skywatch Inn has already acquired a first charge or lien over the hotel, which means that we are essentially, we've put our own money into this as well. So Carlton James Skywatch Inn, who I'm the CEO of, we've invested money, we've invested our clients' money, our brokers have invested their clients' money, and we've pulled together an investment family. And we as a family are managing our money in this hotel. And to secure ourselves against that, we have taken a first charge over the hotel. So we own $13 million first charge or lien, whatever you want to call it, over the hotel at this stage. We've also acquired a stakeholder ownership. So we've acquired a 30% ownership in the hotel, which is owned by Skywatch Inn Ray Incorporated. Okay? So we not only are the mortgage lender, we are also a part owner. And I personally sit on the board. And I sit on the board to protect you, to protect me, to protect my colleagues, and protect every single client of ours that's invested in this project. because that's the most important thing. Now, the way that we've done this means that if at any point throughout the project we have to sell that hotel, then because of the way we've raised the money, we should be able to pay back the investors, and in most cases pay them back the full benefit that they're due to that point. And in fact, what's probably going to happen is that our charge will be sold out, will be bought out by another lender that we have been talking to. In which case, if our charge is bought out, then we will have a right, or you have a right to claim your 25%. So we have an obligation to pay you the 25% bonus, whether we pay you off after 2 years or after 1 year. We've also got an obligation to pay you the 15% that you're due to that point, because your 15% that you get paid every year is calculated on a daily basis. This means that you as investors may be bought out earlier, and if you look at the returns based on an earlier buyout, the returns shoot up, because 25% bonus after 1 year is more than 25% bonus after 2. Simple mathematics. Now, it wouldn't stop there, because remember, this is phase 1, so we're building a family here. So as soon as this is finished, whether it's 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, when we've bought you out as an investor, you will receive all the money that's due back to you plus your investment. But not only that, we would already be coming back to you with the next project. Now, if you can all have a think about this for a moment, if I had you invest in $100,000 into this project that was supposed to be for 2 years, and in 2 months I came back to you and said, by the way, you're going to be bought out earlier, we're going to pay you the 25% bonus, and we're going to pay you the 15% for those 2 months. Now that works out at around about 27.5% return in 2 months. And the reason why we're doing that is because I'm then going to say to you, by the way, the next phase is ready to go. This is the return, these are the people involved. Are you interested in coming back on board? Now just ask yourself this, would you say yes? I think you'll probably find that that's a yes for everybody. And that's what we're trying to build. By building the trust, by building a relationship, and by making sure that we as investors are protected the whole way along. It means that no matter what happens with the project, we can make sure we return our money to the investors and make sure they're ready for the next part of the project. And this will keep going 5 years, 10 years, however long it takes to build what we're building. And every single time you can be involved. And every single time you can earn that money. And every single time you're earning that money is passive. If you want, you just give your representative a call and say, how's it all going? And they'll say, well, this is where we are, this is what's happening, have a look at the photos, this is what's going on. It might be that during that period you look at something else, another investment. You can speak to your representative. So that project's going well there. I've looked at another project. Between ourselves and your representative, whether that be a broker or one of the team, we will sit down and look at that for you, do our due diligence and give you our research and our response on that project and assist you along the way. And believe me, with the experts that we have within the team between Carlton James and Rykel Investment Group, you can't go wrong, because we've been there and done that, believe me. This gives maximum peace of mind for the investor. Maximum. It's a handheld investment. It's very simple. So the structure and the flow. The structure and the flow. First of all, the investment is made by the client into Carlton James Skywatch Inn Limited. We'll call that the company. In all your contracts and your terms and conditions, you'll see that as the company. The company then lends its own money and capital raised from these investors to Skywatch Inn Ray Incorporated. That's called the project. That's the project is what owns the hotel. In addition, we effect a security interest in Skywatch Inn. So essentially, we lend the money to the hotel. secure a first charge or lien over the hotel, and in addition, we take a 30% share in the hotel. Under the terms of the investment, the investor receives the beneficial rights to the revenue that the company would receive from the loan agreement. So what I mean by that is, we have an agreement as Carlton James Skywatch Limited, the company, to pay you, the investor, a 15% in year 1, 15% in year 2, and a 25% bonus on your money back at the end of year 2. What we've done is we've put that in place for the mortgage over the hotel. So we are charging the hotel 15% in year 1, 15% in year 2, and our money back and 25% bonus at the end of year 2. We make payments to you as the investor annually in arrears, and we've brought in an independent investment administrator, Glenmuir International, to oversee the process and make sure that we're doing everything we should be doing on behalf of you. We don't need them there. We would do that anyway because that's our business. Our business is not going to be made from doing this one phase. You know, it's not going to make us all millionaires doing this one phase. What it is going to do is it's going to build our family for the next project and the next project and the next project. Give it 3 or 4 years down the line, you probably won't even look at the documents. Simon, how much do I get? This, this, and this. Great, I'm in. You know, it's that simple. And that's what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build relationships and family. Speak to your representative. They'll tell you exactly the same thing. They'll probably tell you how we've worked with them and their clients in the past. And you'll see. And you can search on all of us online, Google us all, and you'll see that we've got a history of looking after people. All of our investors have walked away with more money than they brought to the table, and none of them have complained because there's no need. Secure exit, very simple. I should make this a little bit I should hold back a little bit of this, but somehow this is the way the slide is. It's a simple refinance that's available after 1 year of trading. You know, we've got a couple of companies ready to take on that finance after 1 year of trading, so it's very simple for us to refinance. We'll repay the investors 125 of their investment out of that secure exit. So we've only got to worry about the 15% out of the income from the hotel, and the 25% comes from the refinance. The completed value on required to exit is 25 mil. As I said, because we've only got to worry about the 15% out of the returns, and our net operating income is 4 mil, then we can afford for that to even come in at a lower valuation, which I very doubt it will. And we're able to get loans of up to 70% with traditional lenders. There's no sell required. Okay, it's very simple. So let's talk about some FAQs, the Q&As. Remember, there's a chat box at the bottom of your webinar box. If you want to put a question in there that I don't answer today, myself or one of the team will come back to you with the answer and talk to you more. But a few questions that normally asked to me are, the first one is, what about tax? If I invest in the US, aren't I going to be taxed twice? First of all, no, depending on where you are, what country you're in, generally there's some kind of dual treaty. However, we've taken all that away for our investors. It's very simple. Carlton James Skywatch is registered for tax themselves in the US but sits in the British Virgin Islands. That means that if you invest in our company, you're secured under the laws of England and Wales and secured under the laws of North Dakota. So you've got double security, but because of the way the British Virgin Islands sits, you will only have to worry about tax implications in your own country, because you'll have no tax implications in the US or the British Virgin Islands or the UK. Wherever you reside, wherever you pay tax, that's where you need to declare your income to the tax office and pay your income like you normally would. We take care of the tax in the US. Now, why is that important? For you people in the US, it's not that important. I understand that you have to pay tax in the US anyway. This is mainly because our clients range from a number of different countries around the world: Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Dubai, India, all over the place, everywhere. Now, if you're a citizen outside of the US and you invest in something into the US, if it's property related, then you will have to do accounts in the US. You will have monies withheld, income withheld for tax purposes. You will have to open bank accounts in the US. There is so much you have to deal with in the US, which makes your whole life so difficult. It makes it very hard to move money out of the US. It makes it very difficult and very costly to manage your income in the US. We have taken that all away, and that's none of the other developers that we know that are in this area have done the same thing. So this means that you can invest in the US, make all the money that you want from the US, and we deal with the tax implications ourselves. The other thing that people ask is, what about if I'm paid out in 2 months? And I know I've gone over this, but generally people ask this again. To go through what I'm talking about by being paid off in 2 months, people say, well, I want to be in it for 2 years. I don't want my money back in 2 months. Remember, this is a long-term investment in short-term phases. So 2 years, yes, you'll get your money back in 2 years. But we're looking to build that family. So we're looking for you to reinvest after 2 years. So if we give you the money back in 2 months, we're ready to take your investment for the next project. The good thing is that every single phase where you get your money back, you get to physically see the money go back into your account. So you can see it, smell it, touch it, and know that it isn't just on paper. I'm sure there's people out there, and you've all done it, where you've invested in a project which is 3, 4, 5 years, and you're being shown paperwork just to show that you're getting a certain return, but you don't know that. The way that we've structured this means that you get your return, you get your cash back, and you're ready to go into the next phase. So it's a long-term investment in short-term phases. The other thing is, what happens if the hotel doesn't get built? Well, that whole question is out of the window now, because even with the money we've got, where we can complete or get very close to completing with our own funds. So there should be no reason why the hotel is not built. It's got full planning. We're ready to break ground. There should be nothing. Nothing is holding us back. So that question is null and void. What happens if the hotel doesn't get built? Well, that's impossible right now. There'd have to be something ridiculous that happened for us not to be able to build this hotel. So that's pretty much it, I think, with the questions. I don't think there's any other questions, and if you do have any, then please feel free to write on the chat box, and one of the team will come back to you. So now just finally, let's talk about what happens next and how simple it is to get started here. Let's go through the conclusion first. You're looking to work with a great team. We've got integrity. We work on behalf of all our investment at all times. I come from the financial world. So does Robert, my other partner. Ryan comes from a construction background. We're used to looking after our clients. We're used to making sure that they earn and they win every time, because they're your bread and butter. They're the people that are going to make sure that you're not only making money now, but making money in the future. It's a great fixed return, which you can clearly see is achievable. Clearly. The security is over all the assets by way of a mortgage and ownership. So you buy shares in a company that has 2 assets. It has a mortgage over a hotel, and it also has a part ownership in the hotel. There's no way that we, because you're shareholders, can transfer the assets out. We can't do that. It's within the contract. We have to keep the assets above what we owe the investors. It's a contractual obligation. And then there's a fixed exit ready for you to reinvest in the next phase and carry on your long-term investment. So now let's talk about what's next. Okay, so it's a small application form completed. You don't have to complete that. Your broker, your representative, one of the team, anybody will complete that for you. You just have to sign it. It's very simple. It's very simple. On that form you'll see the terms and conditions, so the application form is also the contract. So there's no hidden contracts that will come out later. We need 2 forms of ID, that's proof of ID and proof of address. We take a RICAL commitment fee up front of $1,500. This is your commitment to us to show that you're committed to the project. Now, there's no closing costs, there are no other fees, that is it. The total investment amount is due to the investment administrator within 14 days. And the interest is accrued from day 1. It's very, very simple. Very simple to get started. So look, do this. Come on board with us today. We'll get you through this very quickly. We'll hold your hand. You'll become part of the family. And we'll start looking at your future. Looking at your investment future in this long-term investment in short-term phases. And believe me, if you do half as well as the rest of our clients, you're going to be very, very impressed. Thanks very much.